Welcome to Curious with Josh Peck. Start the show. Yo, what's up? Welcome back to the Curious Podcast. My name is Josh Peck. You are the listener. Your name is insert name here, and I want to thank you for listening because if I was just doing this for myself, it would not be as fulfilling, rewarding, and it would also be slightly weird. But I'm just imagining myself like having a home studio, like King of Comedy, Robert De Niro style, like, and then just playing back the tapes for myself, cracking up, like literally listening back to the podcast and no one else hears but me, and just all you hear is, oh my, yes, yes. That would be incredibly creepy and uncomfortable, and that image alone is making me feel emotions and feelings that I do not welcome. Anyway, welcome back. How was your week last week, right? You had that great 3-day weekend, and then you got into work on Tuesday. You were like, what? It's Tuesday already? This is going to be a breeze. And then Friday came along, and you were like, how did the week go by that quick? Huh, it's already the weekend. I love my life. You enjoyed that weekend, but then yesterday you showed up at work and you looked around and you took a deep breath to yourself and you said, fuck. God, fuck. 5 long work days ahead of you, a full week. No more of this 3-day weekend tomfoolery. None of these 4-day week hijinks, okay? It's a 5-day week of, an 8-hour, 9, maybe 10-hour slog. But you know what? There's something admirable about it, right? Because you don't want to be there. Or maybe you do. Or maybe you love it. And if you do, what's that like? Because I like what I do. I'm lucky. I'm just a schmuck with a microphone. You know what I mean? And you're out there. What are you doing? You're crunching numbers, taking meetings, huh? Making reports, cost reports, Excel sheets, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint presentations. Yeah. All designing graphics, fucking, yeah, that's real work. So I know what it is, but, I totally understand the feeling of walking in on a Monday morning and being like, God damn it. How am I going to get through this week? What am I going to have for lunch? It's the only thing I have to look forward to. What are we thinking? Chipotle? Ron, you want to do Chipotle burrito bowls for lunch or no? What about, if we do Subway, I'm getting the cookie today because I'm in a state of fuck it. I'm going to need something. All right, let's reconvene. Let's talk in 90 minutes. And then maybe we'll take a smoke break. And then I'll take a 20-minute restroom break. And then it'll just be an hour to lunch. And then we'll push that over an hour, an hour to sit and eat. And then, 20-minute walk back. And then it'll be 1:50, and then I'm getting at it. I'm gonna dip out early, 4:30 maybe. Yeah, that's what I'll do. And then wash and repeat. Am I right? It's cyclical. It's a cycle, but that's all right because you know what? You do that job. Why? Because you love Netflix, and that job pays for that. And you love unlimited texting and data, and that job pays for that. You're not your khakis. You're not your slacks. You don't work at the Gap. You're not defined by your job. You just do it so you have quality of life when you're not at work. And I get that. And that's cool. And that's most of the world. And that's I. And we can all find enlightenment and pleasure and fulfillment in other things. Or you can find it in your work, whatever you want to do. You know what? I'm not the boss of you. What do I know? You know what I mean? What do I know? Not much, which is apparent by my life choices and career trajectory. Nevertheless, what else is going on? Mac Miller died, and I'm sad about that. And forgive me, because I know if you listen to this pod, I just go on endless rants about celebrities or quasi-famous people sending their thoughts and prayers in empty tweets that just are self-serving. So I hope that this doesn't come across that way. But if it does, feel free to write me mean notes about how I'm a dirty hypocrite. But I just was a big fan, and one of my really close family friends was working with Mac on a regular basis and shooting all his music videos and whatnot. And he just had the best things to say about him, which was my suspicion all along that he was actually a good cat and incredibly talented. And I know that he knew about the pod because my buddy mentioned it. And so it was like slightly a selfish, exciting thing for me in the back of my head, imagining that maybe one day I'd get to chop it up with him for an hour. But that's not important. That's bullshit. What's important is that someone really great who has a family and friends is not here anymore. So just sending love and respect to Mac because I'm a big fan. I loved his music and I'm sad to see him go. Anyway, today's pod, the guest, Bob Saget. Come on, guys. If you don't know Bob Saget, what are you doing with your life? You know what I mean? What, did you not have a childhood? What did you not watch The House That Is Full? Huh? Did you not imagine that you were the fourth sibling amongst Michelle and Stephanie and DJ, and that Danny Tanner was your father? And that Stamos was your uncle, with Dave Coulier as the hilarious Uncle Joey, constantly there to break the tension with a comical joke? Did you not imagine that? Well, if you didn't, I feel bad for you because I did. And now I'm friends with Bob Saget, and I just can't believe it. Bob is one of those guys who knows everyone, who's worked with everyone, who's been famous and successful for like 30 plus years, and is also an incredibly good dude and was nice enough to sit with me and talk for an hour plus. So strap in. Strap up, strap on. You see? This is what Bob Saget's done to me. He's made me incredibly blue. Get excited for this interview, episode, conversation with Bob. Here you go. Enjoy.
Yeah, I never have anxiety.
All right, you guys have fun. I'll be back.
Thanks, Kelly.
Couple errands.
We're set for 6 o'clock dinner.
Maybe I'll get a dress.
Well, that's the idea. Oh, if you got to send me pictures, would you?
I'm not going to interrupt you.
No, if you say...
Hold on, podcast. Let me look at
No.
Let me look
The podcasts are not... They want real.
Yeah, this is real.
Everything I do is real. If you
That's
send me
true.
a picture...
Very in the moment.
If you send me a picture and say, what do you like better? I don't like the sleeves that are like this. I like them like
I don't
this.
either because it's not good for my arms.
But you also have to
I'll
wear...
just make sure I wear this hat.
You have to have a jacket or a sweater. You might have to buy a jacket there.
I know what to do.
Sure you do.
I've
That's-
never left the house before.
No, but that's obvious from your hat.
I love the hat.
Fireworks.
The hat is now a staple.
I'm so glad I've been rolling.
I'm going to staple it to your head.
Yeah, right.
Can I use the rest of it?
Please, I'd rather than ruin the
All
couch.
right, have fun. Love you.
Let me just see if this is good. Let me just answer this guy.
Yeah, please.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Okay. I'm answering Barry Katz.
No big deal. Tracy Morgan was on Howard today talking about Barry Katz.
Was he?
Yeah, he's
Did
like,
he used to
Barry.
handle him? Did he used to handle him?
He's like, Barry groomed me for my SNL audition.
He did?
Yeah.
We should talk about that.
Yeah.
Says, or maybe not talk about Barry Katz.
But Barry Katz is like the Obi-Wan Kenobi of the comedy community. He's the dude.
Well, not really.
No.
There's real guys above him
Right.
that are really, really good.
But you always
Everybody
see him.
left him. Everybody left him, and he had to sue him for money.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Barry's diabolical. He's like a ghoul. Whitney left him, right? Everybody leaves him.
Really?
The only people that stayed with him are Jay Moore, and he's not the best person in the world. And just sorry.
No. Take your time.
How have you been?
But great. Better now.
What was wrong?
No, I'm kidding. I'm great. I mean, I've been enjoying
Better now than you were before?
No, I'm saying like better now that I'm interviewing you. Like I love this.
Who were your first people?
Stamos, number one. Christina Milian, who was on Grandfathered.
Yes.
My buddy Harley Mortenstein, who's a really big YouTuber, famous YouTuber. He does that show Epic Mealtime, where they make the massive meals and 10 million subscribers.
Right.
And I got Michael Rappaport coming on.
Oh, that'll be interesting. He's full of anger.
Oof, totally full of
Does
anger.
he live here?
I think he's based in LA and New
He
York.
splits, yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of just a half and half thing.
Now, can you hear anything in the background? Do you hear silverware?
Do you want to sort of give the audience a background about what we're dealing with?
Well, what's happening here is my friend Josh Peck came over because he's got this amazing podcast, and it's and what's my name?
Robert?
Robert Saget. Robert Saget.
Does anyone call you Bobby?
Some people, a few people. My mother used to call me Bobby, and I didn't
Cute.
like it because she would wake me up in the morning and go, "Bobby, wake up, Bobby."
Terrifying.
It's like a ghost, and she is one now. So,
Right. It's
yeah. So if I hear that, that's bad.
Yeah, right.
No, nobody. A couple people do. A couple showbiz people do because they're just so weird that they think
Right.
that that's how you. Oh, I know Bobby Redford. You know, it's like
Yeah.
I don't think he. No one calls him that. I don't. You know.
Yeah,
I don't
they're
know.
Fiending familiarity. Like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, like
Me
I'm
and
best friends
Sags.
with Bobby De Niro. It's
Yeah.
like I don't think Robert De Niro wants a lot of people to call him that.
Bobby D.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Bobby D. He would like,
Yeah.
or just BD.
Yeah, BD.
Anyway, but what we're dealing with is I have a wonderful housekeeper who is in the other room. So if anyone hears any clanking or anything, and she's in a bikini and a thong,
Sure.
and a thong. She
Right.
doubles up down below.
I think that's nice.
Yeah, you got it. You never know when someone's going to get out of place.
Right.
You hear something flap.
Yeah, look, and it's a new day. It's 2018.
So you can't even say what I just said, basically, because
But-
it kind of objectified her, which is even worse.
Well,
but
we're-
she is lovely, and she's been working with me for 20 years. 20 years. I've been
Wow.
divorced 22 years, and I'm going to get married again now. But this lovely person has been keeping my house nice for 20 years.
And, in doing this podcast, I realized that famous people or famous friends don't ever want to go anywhere ever. And so I
No,
said,
that's true.
Right.
A couple restaurants.
Couple restaurants, Soho House, those
I don't
places.
go there. I'm not a member there. But
Right.
I go. But everybody I know is. So whenever I go,
Yeah,
I just go and I like it because there's no pictures,
right.
but there's a photo booth so you can party.
It's a famous people clubhouse. It's famous people cheers.
And then there's one in Mount. But just so in case anybody knows, there is clanking going on in the background. But I didn't have
Right.
the guts to tell her, could you go into another room?
I get
Because
that.
that seemed insulting.
Of course.
To say, we're going to do a podcast in this room, and it's a feng shui house, so the sound travels. But the other room that we would have the doors closed on, either A, would be upstairs and we would be sleeping together,
Sure.
or B, we would be on the way that's en route to the laundry room, so she would have to get through there anyway. So then we'd be
Tough.
in the middle of the podcast, the doors would open, she'd be there,
Right.
and it would be, so this is I chose the least awkward, I think, way to do this, but I just heard a cup clank.
Things are happening. I
So
think
it's a
people will
life. It's a
accept
life
it.
in progress.
This was how I realized that I would get people to be on the podcast. Would be
I think she heard me, and she is now leaving this area.
she picked up on it.
She did.
That's what
There
20 years
is-
will get you.
So this is
she
no
can
clanking.
read you, Bob. She
Yeah.
knows you.
Yeah, she knows. It's
beautiful.
So now we're in the den, and we're just having a conversation.
So can we talk about Garry Shandling?
Sure.
Because I want to get all into you, but it's so fresh on my mind because I just watched the doc and I know how close you were with him, and I'm fascinated.
It's hard. It's really, really hard. It was a very, very hard. Personally, one of the albatrosses of my life. Which is when a fish is wrapped around your neck, I
Right.
believe. I think that's what it's supposed to be. It's a giant fish that weighs you down.
But isn't an albatross a bird?
Oh. Yeah, I think you're right. The key to me is I have no knowledge of anything.
Perfect. Well, welcome.
The animal kingdom, I'm not familiar.
Right.
Yeah, an albatross is a bird. I always thought it was a fish.
Well,
You know those
the-
tuna birds?
you order that at Nobu. I'll have the albatross
Just the
sashimi.
belly.
Right,
Albatross
yeah,
belly.
Albatross belly.
When I moved to Los Angeles when I was 22 years old, the first person I became friends with through the Comedy Store was Garry Shandling. And We stayed friends, very close friends, for 15 years or so, maybe more. I can't remember. Because I'm 61 now, so it might be 20 years. I don't know. But we were very close. I understood him very well. He understood me very well.
Right.
He even had a bit in his act how to pick up girls, and he had a character where he played a nerdy guy. He lifted his pants up, way up to his nipples, and would go, "How don't you pick up girls?" And I was the voice on the tape. When you meet a girl and you like her, what you do is, and then he would do this 3-minute bit, and we just hit it off. We laughed at the same sick sense of humor.
Right.
He had lost a brother. I had lost a sister.
Right.
He knew both of my sisters, and he knew when both of them passed away. And so I even do this Scleroderma Research Foundation benefit for 25 years now, and Garry performed at one of the early ones. So our closeness was for a long time.
Did you guys talk about that? Because it seems as though from the documentary they say that he really wasn't super open about that side of his life.
He and I talked about it.
Right.
That's
You'd
what's
both been
interesting
there.
is I had a closeness with him that I think he closed up even more, except to a few people that you can see in the documentary that Judd made so eloquently. He made
Incredible.
he made an incredible
Beyond.
documentary.
Yeah.
And I was very hesitant, and yet I wanted to do it. When I did the first interview, my other best friend, I don't know if a 61-year-old guy goes best friend. It sounds like something you say when you're 25.
It's refreshing.
It is, but Garry was for a long time, and then I had met Brad Gray, and I introduced Garry to Brad when I was 23.
Right.
And Garry signed with Brad, and Harvey Weinstein was also a rock promoter in Buffalo, and Brad worked for Harvey.
Wow.
At 20 years old, he would run prints of the Rocky Horror Picture Show to the movie theater in Buffalo in the snow.
What's
He
in
was
the
a
water in
runner.
Buffalo? I mean, who
There
make
was
these
he went to
moguls?
but he was a Long Island kid, and he ended up going to University of Buffalo and started working for rock promoters. And it was Harvey and Corky. They were
Right.
rock promoters. So they signed me. I was on a Comedy Store college tour, and then I came back to L.A., and Garry had been courted by some people of the Rollins and Jaffe team and they were Woody Allen's manager, and
Right.
they became and Buddy Mora and David Steinberg and Larry Bresner.
greats.
These are wonderful people,
Right.
and they were guys that I had courted with right before I met Brad. And then Brad and Harvey said, "We want to manage you," and I said, "Okay." I was in Buffalo.
I suppose I'll allow it.
I just said okay, and I was in a room as big as this sofa.
Right.
And then I introduced when Brad was out visiting, staying on my couch, and Brad later became the chairman of Paramount. But way before that, he was a manager. He
Right,
was
started
the
Brilson
old
Gray.
school of, and he was Brad Gray management
Right.
for a while, and Garry. Of the clients Brad had, he had Dana Carvey, Dennis Miller, a director, Michael Lehman, who did Heathers,
Not a
myself.
bad roster.
Very good roster for a really young guy, for a
Right.
23-year-old guy. And then one day he met Bernie Brillstein, the legend of management, who was also another big legend with Ken Kragen and Jerry Weintraub. They were Management 3.
Sure.
So this is a long time ago, but Bernie was one of the best and funniest people that I'll ever know in my life. And so Brad went up to Bernie and said, "You need me. I've got young blood for you." And Bernie had, of course, his first client was Norm Crosby. His second client was Jim Henson. And then he, of course, worked with Lorne Michaels and John Belushi and Aykroyd and all the people from SNL. And that whole first year had a lot of Bernie all over it. And the whole series, I mean.
And do you think that people like Brad Gray and these, magnets, these people that attain so much success and power, is it their ability in which to recognize talent and to attach themselves immediately without any reservation?
Yes, and that was the thing that eventually was the demise of Garry and Brad, which broke my heart. And I was in
very
the middle
public
of it.
lawsuit.
It was very, very
and-
public, and it was 20 years later. So
Right.
we're talking about, I was 42, so it was literally 20 years later. I had just been served with my divorce papers, and I
Always a
also
nice
had
thing to
in
be
my
served with.
car, I also had understanding of the lawsuit that Gary had against Brad, and I wanted to stay out of it. And I kind of made a joke in the press, which I think must have hurt Gary. Um, like I was going to sue Brad too. I had my eye on one of his cars. And I think that that was something that drove a wedge between us, that I even made a joke or a comment about it.
Sure.
But I loved Brad, and Brad died last year of cancer. And I went back for the documentary and filmed more after Brad died. And Judd had to consider, do I make this pre or post Brad Gray's death? And at the end, they did say Brad had passed away last year of cancer, or I don't know if they said the cause. And Gary died 2 years ago.
And do you think that what stuck with me so much was Judd early on in the doc says something to the effect of Gary asked him, when people ask, how's Gary, what do you say? And Judd said, I say that Gary vacillates between being the happiest guy I know and the most miserable. And Gary took a second and said, that's about right. And I think you could say that, though, about any comedian.
Yes.
Right?
Every comedian, if you wanted to do a cookie cutter diagnosis, you could say bipolar. You don't
Right.
say schizophrenic normally, but
It's not as...
there's a high ups and a high downs.
Why?
Well, so you're a talented man. You got the same thing. You
A
can't
little
tell me
bit.
you're happy all the time.
Oh, please, far from it. But I'm
And
here interviewing you. I mean, I'm
yeah, that's
searching.
depressing.
I'm searching.
Didn't mean to bum you out. But I've been through a lot, and I've lost two sisters. One of them had scleroderma, hardening of the skin, and the other one had uh, a brain aneurysm, but she had a lot of mental health issues. And
Right.
so it's no stranger to me to see people just try to get through life. And mental health is something that affects literally every person that has a need to get in front of people for not just the reason of I'm going to make money, rather than be an accountant, I'm going to be a comedian. And in the early 80s, there were 1,000 extra comedians that didn't need to be because they just could have worked in a bank
Right.
or maybe tried a business. But instead, they just said, hey, wait a minute, I can make a few grand a week doing, traveling around the country, and I'm going to be a comedian. And they would learn the tricks. Maybe they'd, get a sledgehammer and break a watermelon,
Right.
but that was what they did. They entertained people, but in their heart, did they want to entertain people? No. What I learned from Gary early on, what I learned from the greats that I got to be around, whether it be Richard Pryor or Rodney Dangerfield or the people that took me in and under their wing and said, hey, let's hang out. I was at the Comedy Store at 22 and Billy Crystal sat next to me. He said, I just saw your set. You're very funny.
Right.
And then I said, wow, that I don't know what to say. I said, you must be so happy. I mean, you're on Soap. You're doing this great sitcom. And he said, no, I don't enjoy it. I'm trapped playing this character. And then, of course, 10 years later, I wind up on Full House playing the guy who's the Richie Cunningham of the show, not the funny guy.
Golden handcuffs to a certain extent,
it
right?
it is.
Yeah.
And when the tree opens up, you don't say no to it. You can. I mean, there are people that were too hip for the room that followed their morals, and I don't blame them. Now I'm more like that. Now I get offered stuff, and I go, no, no, thanks. I'm not a dad of 4 kids. We're
Right.
not. I've done it. And yet I've played a father in a couple of sitcoms that maybe had a season out of them.
Right.
But what am I, not going to have kids? It's not the Entourage character. I don't think in this day and age you want to see a 60-year-old guy hitting on a 25-year-old woman, because that's what's wrong with the world right now.
Right.
And so it's right in everybody's face. But I do go all over the place. I don't mean
I like it.
I don't mean the way I do the podcast. I mean I'm going to urinate all over the place. It's going to be. You might want to wear goggles.
I'd feel honored.
Yeah, and I'm going to get you the Gallagher raincoat.
I knew what I was signing up for walking into your abode.
That's why when I said, can I do it at your place? You said, no, let's do it at your place. Because
Yes.
you really didn't want to get your furniture ruined.
Well, it's all right.
It's fiber sealed.
It's Wayfair, so it was reasonably priced. and
Wayfair is fantastic.
Isn't it great?
I bought something on there. But
Sure.
once you have Amazon, it says Wayfair you can get their stuff through Amazon.
All right, guys, we just got a quick ad for y'all, but then We gonna get right back to the conversation. Uncle Josh promises. Anyway, did you know that Amazon Alexa comes with a wide variety of skills? They're just like apps, but you don't have to download or install them. Use the skills to play a game, relax with sleep sounds, listen to live sports, and so much more. You can browse them all by visiting the Amazon Alexa app. Just click on the Skills and Games tab or go to amazon.com/skills. You can find some of the best ones by asking Alexa, Alexa, what are your popular skills on any Alexa-enabled device? Here are a few skills you should try. Would you rather for family? I love playing games with my buddy, David Dobrik, heard of him, and this skill asks you to make a choice between two situations. Just say, Alexa, play Would You Rather? Life hacks. New life hacks are added each week, and they're also super useful. Did you know Doritos can be used as fire kindling? They can. Say, Alexa, open life hacks and find out more interesting tricks. And Doritos feel like fire kindling in my stomach sometimes. Anyway, try an Alexa skill today. Just say, Alexa, what are your popular skills to find some of the best skills? Okay, let's get back to the pod. It's so funny because, and I hope I'm not giving this away, and I'm happy to edit it out, but walking up to your house, there was an Amazon Prime haul like I've never seen. You've got about 8 boxes outside your
That's
door.
toilet paper.
I know.
I order water and toilet paper from Amazon because I don't go to the market with 2 carts full of water and toilet paper. And I get enough because, I don't want to have to continue to go get it.
Right.
And I don't like to go shopping.
I don't blame
and
you.
Water and toilet paper, you can make paper mache. So people think I'm using it for toilet purposes or for a beverage.
Sure.
But I'm making giant replica statues of myself that I put in the yard
That's nice.
until it rains.
Right.
And then they dissipate.
Yeah, and I think it's biodegradable.
And then I wipe myself with them.
That's so lovely of you.
And it's wet. So it's kind of like it's
multi-purpose.
my fiduciary duty. The other thing is Amazon Prime is where my special is at. That's the only plug I'm going to do.
Tell me more.
It's on Amazon Prime, and it's doing really well. It's called 0 to 60.
Right.
And I shot it at the Williamsburg Hall of Music in Brooklyn. And the joke is that I can't do on talk shows because they think it's too dirty to sell it, is that with 2 clicks, you can buy my special and the lotion to watch it with, inferring that you'd get excited.
Sure.
And so it is also just came out on vinyl. It's out on LP.
Great.
Because I thought that'd be cool. And so I haven't. I can give you one. I can give you one when you leave.
Please.
But I'd rather you watch it.
Can you
It's
buy me a
streaming.
record player as well so I can actually...
you don't have it.
No,
then
I do actually. I
you
have a
actually
record player.
turntable?
Sure.
Well, then I'll give it to you. And so it's out on every medium. It's on microfiche. It came out in suppository.
Mini
I
disc.
offended people. I took a picture of the poster of it, and I put it on an actual picture of a suppository, exterior of a suppository.
Sure.
The packaging.
Right.
And I said on Instagram that it's come out in suppository form, and some people just don't like in-your-butt humor.
Well, then why are they following you in the first place?
Right. That's
they should know what they signed up for.
And the truth is, that's how Shandling and I became friends.
Right.
He would say things, how blue do you go on this thing?
You feel free to go wherever you want to go.
And then you'll
I'm
figure
with
it
you.
out.
Yeah.
Shandling, he would say things like, well, he had a joke that was very famous. He thinks his dog is sick because his penis tastes bitter. And so Shandling and I were friends with Dave Coulier. And I met Dave 10 years before I did Full House.
Right.
And so
Uncle
Dave-
Joey, in case anyone doesn't know.
Yeah, Uncle Joey from Full House. But Dave stayed on my couch for 3 weeks, and Garry would call, and I lived in a single apartment, or actually became a 1-bedroom in Palms, which was lovely. And I moved.
Now an upcoming area
Now
near
it is.
Los Angeles International Airport.
Yes, it's en route. But the thing about it is I moved because there was a shotgun in the pool one morning, and I realized that there was a murderer somewhere in the building.
Sawed off or full-size
I
barrel?
don't know. I didn't dive down, but
All right.
I saw it. I did see it.
Right.
But
12 gauge.
Dave and Garry and I would have 3-way conference calling, just picking up an extra extension because there was no conference calling. There was nothing back then. We didn't have food or pants.
Sure.
But we went to Big Bear and we took very lascivious pictures that were not lascivious. We were dressed, but they were, I don't know. We were mocking deliverance. I don't know what we were doing.
Sure.
But that's the kind of stuff we did, and we were all struggling. And Garry was going up and doing spots, and I was going up and doing spots, and we were close. And then when the lawsuit happened, which I hate talking about, but
But
it's
you
in the
keep bringing up.
documentary. Huh?
But you keep bringing up.
Keep bringing up. Well, I thought it went away, but that was the separation. That was the thing that he felt betrayed, and I felt in the middle, and still do, and I would love to set the Wayback Machine and somehow fix it. The way to fix it is to sit and talk about it and see if you can talk about it.
But do you think that, and obviously you guys had a long-standing relationship, so it was different. But in my experience, no one can have a resentment quicker than a comedian towards another comedian. No one can have, it's I snap judgments about someone else quite like a comedian can, especially amongst the community. Do you find that?
Yes, but Garry was different than other comedians. Garry did have a metaphysical approach from the very beginning.
Right.
He really did. And, Sarah Silverman said it really well, which was it's not that Garry was Zen, he was in desperate need of Zen. He needed something you look at all the journals, all the notes. I had journals and notes. I actually had them typed up on my computer. So I've got books, phone books of all the jokes I've ever said or all the ideas I ever had. It was much more like my mother's anal retentive, weird secretarial skills. I was a stenographer for my own work. And yet my work was like, people didn't think I wrote any of it. They just thought I was just riffing. But no, it was all written out, stream of consciousness, weird crap. And what I think Garry and I respected about each other in the early days was we were trying to have an original voice, and I had people respect me and try to help me. And Garry had, as you saw in the documentary, George Carlin said, "You're good. You should do this."
Right. What do you think?
And I do want to end a closure on the Garry thing, in that I will always love him. I will always miss many things about him. I will say that he wasn't always the sweetest person to me.
Sure.
If you watch the doc and you see how he treats Ricky Gervais when he comes into the place, unbeknownst to Garry, yes, your house being invaded, but I will share a story that no one has this story, and this is a true story.
Oh boy, let me check the levels. Okay, go.
I was married. We had no wedge between us. Nothing had come up. His career, it's Garry Shandling's show had not come on the air.
Right.
Brad was doing really well with Garry, and Garry was doing really well with Brad. It was I was married to my ex-wife, Sherry, and we were invited to Garry. So we've been divorced 22 years. So this is a long time ago. So this is, say, 25, 26 years ago. And we were invited to Garry's house. And more than that, it was before it was on television. Right before I did a Richard Pryor. That must have been 25.
Right.
So we're talking a billion years ago, light years. And Garry had just started to do well on the road, opening for all these people. So Donna Summer was there, Tom Petty was there. People were at his house in Tarzana. And it was Halloween. And he had a Halloween party and told me it was costume. And when my ex-wife and I got there, we were the only people in costume.
That's awesome.
Now, that's not awesome. That's a really humiliating thing.
Was it?
It was hurtful.
What was the costume first?
Well, the costume is a winner, because we were dressed as Julius and Ethel Rosenberg,
Okay.
who were persecuted Jews for giving away the plans of the bomb.
Right.
So we were in suits, handcuffed together, holding plans.
All right.
Everybody laughed, said, "Who are you?" But everybody laughed at us. It was not a with us laugh.
Really?
Yes, really. It was a way of, and there was no apology. It was like, we're just going to make fun of Bob.
And did you ever...
I told him it hurt my feelings very much, and I didn't want to be there. And then actually, after that, I was hurt for a little while.
What was his response to that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, I think he apologized, but it was not. He was happier that he got a big laugh
Right.
at my expense. And I just wish he'd done it to someone else. I
Right.
mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
No, it's a pretty good
I mean,
joke.
I don't like practical jokes. I hate them.
I
Like
kind of hate them too.
I hate them. When I
Right.
would watch the video show and they would try to put some in there, pull the wallet with the string like on candid camera.
Right.
I just hate that junk. I hate it. I hate April Fools. I hate all of it.
Yeah.
If someone's funny, it's funny. A tricking somebody is just like, why don't you become a magician and leave me alone?
Well, isn't that the great sort of commitment, or what any great comedian is doing, right? Is controlling the laugh and the conversation.
And that's by connection.
Right.
And that's by what Jerry Seinfeld will tell you is it's not a monologue, it's a discourse. Now, he's someone that if someone yells something out, he's the first person whose philosophy is I work alone. But he knows he
Right.
doesn't. He's one of the best stand-ups that will ever live in the history of comedy. When I watch
craftsman.
Jerry, he's a craftsman, but he's also just damn funny and so smart. And so, like, I just went and we did a thing, I guess it was last year, at Madison Square Garden for a lot of children's charities. And they had a lot of friends and performers, and I performed, and John Oliver and Chris Rock and Jerry. And Jerry wasn't on the bill, and he did like 20 minutes of stuff, and it was 4 minutes about postage stamps. And I just spoon feed me that stuff. It was eloquent. It was the art of being hilarious, and to be able to be. It's not just craftsman. It's like when people go, "Oh, he does good crowd work," or "She does good crowd work." It's like what? It's not crowd work. Don't you're talking to the audience. You're involving the audience. If you're good at it, you're doing it because you enjoy it, or you just saw Rickles so much you figured that's the answer.
Well, it seems as though Jerry is operating on a different wavelength than many of us, which is why he's able to pick up on things that perhaps go by us. And it seems as though people,
It's the minutia that is everything.
but he's
and-
also unaffected, in my opinion, by the emotion, of
emotion.
things. By emotion, right?
Yeah.
And I find that, like, you see that in guys like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or those kind of, like, those greats of their industry, that they have this blinders type approach to the thing in which they do, and they're unaffected by people's feelings.
And that's a very strong quality to have.
I agree.
And it's an admirable quality. It does take the humanness out for some people.
Right.
But what Jerry does and there's other comedians that do it. I mean, Brian Regan, Jim Gaffigan can take simple things. He can do an hour about food that you relate to everything. And there's comedians, I could listen to Louis Black talk about airplane travel. Sometimes I just flew in and it's like, I'm out, but not if it's somebody good.
Right.
Who does, Jerry's got enough airplane jokes that could be, you could play them for 3 specials on an airplane. I did want to just put a little rounding on the Shandling thing, just because I have no choice. Because you started by opening with it,
Right.
I teetered in and out of it. I love Brad Gray very much. His children are my kids.
Right.
He passed away. His daughter is like my goddaughter, and that was what came out in the documentary. But I'm very close with those kids. And Brad was very close with my family. And so I heard both sides of the argument. I wanted to hear more sides of Gary's side, but Gary wouldn't let me in. And I understand it because once Gary's betrayed, he did. And you could go psychologically, well, he lost his brother. No one told him his brother was dead, which is the worst thing a parent can do.
Sure.
They told him eventually, but all of a sudden he's just gone one day.
Is it the
So
worst, or
that
is it
psychologically is how everybody always goes, well, this hurt from Brad, from me, from other friends, from writers that, went and worked on other shows for not all the reasons people think. Some people wanted to work with Gary. Some people had enough with it. People run their course with a talent. They can take so much, especially if it's someone as passionate and perfectionist as Gary was about his work. He
Right.
wanted, because he had a combination of being a great writer and really in the zone on the shows he did, especially Larry Sanders. There was a thing of excellence that surpassed everything else for him. But it would have been nice to have been able to do what I wanted to do, which was go sit and talk with him and somehow find a resolution. But I know that it was impossible, except near the end, near the last few years, we were inching toward being able to. Uh, we had a closeness. When I would see him every year, there were tears in both of our eyes when we saw each other.
Yeah.
I knew he loved me,
And we have.
and I said, he said, what do you want, Bob? And I said, I love you, Gary. There's nothing I can do about it. I love you. He said, I understand that. And his eyes would well with tears. And yet we were both alive, living 10 minutes from each other,
Right.
and I wasn't going to see him. And what people always go, here's the psychology of Garry Shandling. Well, here's the psychology of Brad Gray. Here's something I also never tell anybody, and probably will never tell anyone, but except all your listeners.
Thank you.
Brad's dad, like Gary's brother, was the thing. Everybody has something.
We all have our sad story.
Or something that shapes you into why you're the way you are. Why did Brad want to rule the world? Why did Brad want to be the head of management? He idolized Jack Rollins. Jack Rollins came to see me when I was 21 years old to Catch a Rising Star in New York because Brad brought him. And Brad was 20, and he brought Jack Rollins, who handled Woody Allen.
Right.
So it's like, here's the guy. Here's the guy that's the best manager, a role model for every other manager that followed. And Charles Jaffe, he didn't come, so I'll never forgive him because he's passed on.
Yeah, it's better not to.
And that's all I want to say about it, except all I can say is I loved Gary. I always will.
And I think that
I
comes
loved
across.
Brad very, very much. I was incredibly close with him. I knew he was sick for 6 years. I was hanging out in hospitals with him, and he is one of the best friends a person can have. And what I'm sad about is that at this time when they're both gone, that they weren't alive, that they weren't still friends, that they hadn't ironed it out, that they hadn't sat in a room, and rather than feel betrayed, they get through it because Brad loved Gary too. But Brad was also sued for $100 million, and then a bunch of legal desperate measures were taken. And then all this bullshit that ruins friendships all over the world. All over the world.
And
you hear
everyone's-
about brothers that do not talk to each other anymore.
Right. And
Because they were in business together.
Yeah, I mean, it's Shakespearean.
It is Machiavellian. It's the whole deal.
But do you think that, and I'm just interested in, and to sort of depart from the Brad and Gary of it all. But
Yeah, I would like to. I don't know what used to. But I think I wanted to talk about it. I think that's what happened.
I'm here for you. But
Yeah,
just as
I
a
know.
reflection on
But
humanity.
this is going to say it in the title. Bob talks a lot about Gary.
No, I mean, I'll basically lead
It'll
with whatever
sell
will get me the
tickets.
most listeners. It's all clickbait now. But do you think, like, I find, and at my age of 31 now, and the small amount of life that I'm
Poor
trying
child.
to live, is that
You're such a pauper.
what?
You were on Nickelodeon at what age? 4?
10.
Oh, my grandmother.
I mean, and I won't
What was
go
the name of the show?
Drake and Josh.
Oh,
And
God, yes.
by the way, a similar, contentious
Who are your big
relationship
competitors? You can't do that on television?
that you can't do that on television. Full House reruns.
Yeah, they'll never go away.
Oh, what's up, y'all? We just got another ad for the podcast. We'll get right back to the conversation, I promise you. Anyway, getting back into fall has me craving routine and healthy cooking. Most nights, however, there's just no time to cook, and it's tempting to get takeout or eat something that's not so good for me, and just sort of go and talk to the weird kid at the restaurant who's never going to get my order right and going to give me weird eye contact, and then just insist that I tip him 20%. But I'm like, I don't understand because this is takeout and that doesn't feel fair. Anyway, I can use that time to prepare my own delicious healthy meal with the new quick and easy meal plan from Sunbasket. Sunbasket's meal kits always make it easy and convenient to cook healthy, delicious meals at home, no matter how much experience experience you have in the kitchen. Now getting a meal on the table is even faster and more foolproof with their new quick and easy meal plan and super speedy recipes. Go to sunbasket.com/curious today to learn more and get $35 off your first order. That's sunbasket.com/curious to get $35 off your order today. sunbasket.com/curious. Look, it makes me fascinated about the Full House of it all, because I feel as though with Drake and Josh, I have it to a very small extent. But, and I don't even know if you can honestly answer this, but Stamos sort of intimated this slightly, and I so identify with this feeling. It's like, I am so grateful for the show, and I'm so grateful that people allowed us into their homes and that kids grew up with the show. And yet, when you make such a you make something that affects people and sort of part of the lexicon at such a young age, like
they
you
see
did.
you as that forever.
Right. And is there a part of you that kind of says, like, God, I just at times wish it was something a little sexier?
No, because you
or
just watch
dope.
my specials and then everything's fine.
Right. You
or watch
even it
other
out.
work that I've done. But
Right.
that's not just, in the beginning I was stomping my feet up and down going, I'm not Danny Tanner.
Sure.
But there was something I thought I was, when I watch it now, I haven't been able to watch it for so many years. My daughter called me, my youngest daughter is 25, called me today and said I was watching a Full House episode. I never watch it. She never watched it.
Sure.
I almost forbid her to watch it back in the day.
Right.
And she said, it was really weird. I said, it was like I had another life going on, isn't it? She said,
Right.
yes, because it wasn't me, but there was part of me in it, but it was giving love to other children that were not my children. So for my children, I used to go on Letterman and say, my daughter smelled one of the other babies on me and thinks I'm cheating on her. You know? And it became a cultural phenomenon, bigger than any of them, bigger than Brady, bigger than Happy Days, because it's lasted so long, because the world wasn't like this. We didn't have, forget syndication, we didn't have Netflix, we didn't have, abilities that I think Hulu and Hallmark are running the Full House episodes,
Wow.
whereas Fuller House is still Netflix, so it's
everywhere.
Well, it'll never go bye-bye unless the planet's gone, but I think people from other planets will enjoy it.
Right.
Right, because I think it's Michelle. It's the one person that's not on Fuller House.
Right. Well,
that is the secret to that show.
that she's actually an alien.
Well, she was. Well, they're beyond brilliant, both Ashley and Mary Kate, which is why they're not there.
Yeah, of course. They
And
made the right
I love
move.
them tremendously, and who knows? You never know. Maybe one day one of them will show up on the set. I don't know. But
Well,
that's
you
not what this
guys-
is about. This is about entertaining people. It's about what you did as a kid on that show made people happy.
Right.
And that is where we, as human beings that went and signed up to do it, but when you're 10 years old and you're starring in a show, you don't really go, this is what I want to do with my life. You don't know what you're doing. You were kind of sold to Pleasure Island in a way.
Well-
you said, Mom, Dad, I want to do this.
I was fat, and so I couldn't be the sad fat guy. So at 10 years old, I quickly understood that, like,
I
comedy.
wouldn't call you fat. I would say
morbidly
you were a little
obese is more
Zoftig.
appropriate. You can throw all the Yiddish that you wanted. It being 100 pounds overweight, it's fat.
Oh.
I was fat,
Did
but
you get out of breath when you ran?
yes, I tried just not to. It was more getting out of breath when I walked that scared me.
Wow.
Or in the shower.
Did you eat a lot of pork belly?
I didn't eat much, but I pretty much everything else. I was more of like a large Domino's pizza to myself with a side of breadsticks and the lower row of whatever vending machine was closest.
So that sounds fun.
It's great. Sometimes
it's great
I wish
that first 6 months.
I miss that.
Yeah.
But
You
I
ever do it?
I ever, yeah, I mean, I can't, my body won't allow for it anymore, but I've definitely, once a week I'll go in hard body karate and treat myself to some sick sushi dinner and
Well,
excess.
sushi is not the same thing. I mean, that
It's not bad.
comes out with flippers.
But I'm not talking about high class, famous people sushi. I'm talking like a deep fried spicy tuna roll and 11 pounds of tempura batter
oh.
and 3 pounds of teriyaki
Oh,
sauce.
so you'll really eat. I binge. I binge sometimes.
Do
Like,
you?
well,
What's
if
your
I do like
go-to
two
binge?
shows on like I did 4 shows this weekend in Denver.
Right.
So that's you get tired. So it's
And
late at night.
you're alone, right?
How do you get it? Well, actually, I brought my fiance Kelly with me, and I'm with
Okay.
my buddy Mike Young. We tour together, and I'm still doing tour dates because since this whole election, since all this, it just made me want to make people laugh more.
Right.
And I'm trying to write new stuff so I can do a new hour special.
But election or not, you are never going to be able to stop, right?
But I'm not going to be 80 years old walking out on a stage doing an hour.
You don't think so?
No,
Like
I like
Rickles?
directing. I enjoy that.
Sure.
There's another thing. I'm directing a documentary about Martin Mull. After we leave here, I'm going to go over and meet with Martin, who's this amazing comedian, and you probably know him from Sabrina the Teenage Witch and
Sure.
other shows that he did, but he's an artist. The main thing he is an artist, a painter. He's been a painter since he was 4. And then he would tour. He was on a Norman Lear show called Fernwood Tonight. He was on Mary Hartman. He's this brilliant comedian, a good friend of Steve Martin's, and I actually would not be doing comedy music had I not heard Martin Mull do comedy music.
I still want to hear what you're binging on when you're in Denver in your hotel room. and
Okay,
you
so
just
what
finished
happened
the set.
was we would do the show. I'd stay at the Four Seasons in Denver.
Ooh, fancy.
Well, I'm I'm a 5-star bitch.
Good for
I
you.
don't fly private. That's the one thing I'm not splurging on.
I
But
love
I
a
will
good
go
hotel.
and I will I first it out, but still first class is not what it used to be. They still give you sometimes, hey, here's a box with nothing in it.
Sure.
Try to pull a handkerchief out.
I can't wait for
Like-
people listening to this who are, in the back of the plane. Be like, these fucks.
I
in
always
their
actually
first
always
class.
say I've never been to Coach, but I hear it's crazy back there.
It
But
is.
it's like instead of hummus, you open it up, it's just boogers. It's not good. It's like the pilot just put them in there.
So you're in Denver.
And
You're
so
at the Four
I'm there. The
Seasons.
shows are over. We see a couple thousand people over the weekend. I'm doing some clubs now because clubs is where you can get material done. You can't go and do. Before that, I was only doing a theater tour, and I go on theater tours for a while, for a couple months, and then when you do a theater tour, you really got to deliver. People are spending more money.
Sure.
You want not that you don't deliver
The stakes
the
are
best
higher.
you can. You want to make them really feel like this is the best night they ever had.
And it's groomed. It's a,
It's
it's
a groomed,
a strong.
it's a waxed, it's
It's
totally
good.
there's
It's a
not
landing
hair
strip.
on the floor.
Right.
It's a what?
It's a landing strip.
That's exactly what it is. That's the audience. That's how I look at them.
So you're alone. You're not a drug guy. You're not a drinker, right?
No, I will have alcohol now and then. I'm trying not. Sometimes I'll go dry and
Right.
not drink at all. But then after a show to have a martini is a nice thing. So
But a martini with an entire cheese pizza to yourself.
no,
Where are
I
we
do
going?
not like pizza. I do not. I am off of bread. I have not been eating bread for a couple years.
Ugh, you're
So-
missing out.
Well, I know. I'll have a sandwich now and then. Once in a while, if there's a sub somewhere that's crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Or if I'm in a town, or if I'm in Philly and I don't get a cheesesteak, what am I, nuts?
Bread's my favorite thing.
You see, I try to cut that down. But how can you stay so svelte and not eat bread?
I work
I mean,
out
and eat bread.
obsessively,
You work out obsessively.
6 days a week, an
and
hour.
and,
at
and when
least.
you work out, you're doing an hour of cardio, and then you do muscle stuff. You do.
I switch off, so I do like muscle 3 days a week, and then some cardio, hot yoga, hiking, the whole thing. But that's more for an
You do
overall.
Pilates,
Yeah, and it's also to keep me off the old Prozac,
which is what?
the antidepressants.
Oh.
Well, it's just that natural endorphin release. I think if I was left with all my neuroses and I had no outlet for it, I'd be
You
medicated.
go to a therapist?
Oh yeah, I just came back. I was just there.
That's why you're so clear.
I don't know about that. I have
I go to a therapist,
momentary
and he's
reprieves.
just.
We still haven't talked about what you've eaten, but I want to hear about the
Okay,
shrink.
so what'll
But-
happen is, I like, for example, I need beef. I'm a beef positive person, so
Gotcha.
I try to eat healthy, but I do eat a lot of fish,
Right.
But I got like a Kobe burger on a salad. I mean, it sounds
And that's your big
that's not
indulgence.
the main thing. So
Okay.
it keeps going. The problem is I can really intake. That's when I can go up in weight. When
Right.
I can. When I just get, I want that too. It's not like I'm eating my favorite thing, which would be buffalo wings. I used to, after a
Beautiful.
show, have like, a tequila and buffalo wings.
And it's the official food of comedy clubs. It's
It
buffalo wings.
is, but I wouldn't even eat it there. I'd eat it back at the Four Seasons.
Smart.
Which
Better.
has the best buffalo wings. I was one time working at a club in Charlotte, staying at a Four Seasons.
Okay.
I ordered buffalo chicken wings in the middle of the day. It was all I was going to eat. I was like, okay, I'm going to eat bad, but it's just going to be all I'm going to have.
Right.
So hopefully the fat will eventually leave.
Dissipate.
Right. And as I'm eating, my tooth chips off.
Ay.
I had a bonded front tooth, which I still do, and it chipped off, and it's in the wings. And I take it out of the wings, and now I'm sitting here with like a little niblet where a tooth was, and I decided to just keep eating the wings because
You
I
can't
figured,
leave
what the
those
heck's
wings
the
alone.
difference?
Yeah.
What's the diff? It's gone.
Right.
So I just move all the wings to the left side of the mouth,
You got
away
like
from
20
the niblet.
other teeth to take care of those wings.
Correct. I finally finish up. Then I got to go in the bathroom and you got to wash off because you got a wing on you. Now it looks like when you're cleaning wing juice off on white towels in a hotel bathroom,
Sure.
that you murdered someone.
Right. And you've got a broken tooth. So you're
And the
looking.
tooth is God knows where, and I'm not saving it because they're not going to glue that back on it because it's chipped up bonding, which is not really a cap.
And soaked in red hot.
It's all red. It's,
Right.
it is, but it's not. It's orange. I mean, it's not real blood. It's alien blood.
Right.
So then I called a guy from the club, and he said, "I got a guy for you." I end up in a dentist office, and the guy gets off the golf course, and he's drunk.
That's great.
And the guy bonds my tooth back on with the wrong color. So then I do 2 shows that night, and then I end up coming back to L.A., go to a real dentist. This is several years ago, and had a tooth redone again after the incredible chicken wing incident.
I would have never known.
No,
So it was great
why-
work.
How could you know that?
I mean, it's
If-
beautiful.
If, it was all orange around it, you'd be able to tell.
Your grill is gorgeous now.
I wear a grill. I wear. I'm going to be a rapper when this is all said and done.
It's one thing you haven't done.
I did have a rap song. I've been in rap songs, and there was a song called "Rollin' with Saget" because there was a Jamie Kennedy and Stu Stone had this show on MTV like 10, 12 years ago called "Blowin' Up," and the whole arc of the whole 9 episodes was that they do a Bob Saget rap video, and so it is on iTunes. It is called "Rollin' with Saget," and
Good
it's,
to know.
You're now about to witness the strength of Bob Saget, and then the hammer drops, and then the song goes, and it is a song. Sorry, I hiccuped. That was the wings.
That was it.
Just memory of
It's-
them.
You know, I've started doing an hour at colleges, and I've done 15 different colleges.
And it's stand up?
It's sort of a, when I got big on social media and whatnot, I started getting these incoming calls saying, would Josh ever want to come and do stand up? And because it's how I got started, but I haven't done stand up in 15 years.
But you did do stand up.
Yeah, it's how I got into the business. And but
In the business, you were 8.
I was 6, and I'd talk about the schoolyard, and no, I was.
Did you really?
I was 10 years old. I was in New York, and I was looking through Backstage magazine, which was like the Actors Times, and in the back there was an advertisement for a kid comedian agent. So I called Sid Gold at Gold Star Entertainment, and he said, well, kid, if you can get a 5-minute act together, I have this thing where I sort of peddle young comedians, and I can get you on at Caroline's. And I was 10 years old, and I did some impressions, made fun of my mom, and I'm sure I got some pity laughs, but more so, I knew I couldn't vamp, and I couldn't do any crowd work. So I had like a strong 4 minutes, like a killer 4 minutes, and I killed. And then I started doing Conan, and I did it on the Rosie O'Donnell show and Catch a Rising Star.
Stand up?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And then moved here, and it was like my weird.
Do you still use that as your reel?
Yes, I do. It's what got me, grandfathered, and pretty much everything I have going now.
That was such a good show. That show should be on.
It should.
It should have had a second season just to fix the kinks because you had Dan Fogelman, you had John, who's maybe one of the best people in the world.
I love him.
You can't help but love him. And what's great is what a great friend he is. That's what's great about John.
He's a special guy, and I kind of can't. I mean, you guys came up together and have had a 30+ year relationship, but for me, the disparity is large, right? Because he's a legend. You guys are.
Well, I don't know. They call anybody that just lives long enough a legend.
That's true. If you
You know,
survive,
he's a legend. No, that's the homeless guy by the refrigerator by the corner.
But I'm just this schmuck kid who was on this show, and all of a sudden he was nice enough to take me under his
You
wing.
weren't a schmuck kid. You had a big following. I mean, you were an asset to the show.
I felt lucky to be a part of it.
He was excited when he got you to be his son that he thought was a bastard.
Right. And he's been really good
Never
to me.
showed the mom, huh? Did we ever show your mom?
The mom, yeah.
It's not Paget.
Yeah, it was Paget.
Oh,
It's all right.
okay.
I'll get you the box
I was
set.
on the show.
Yeah, you were on a couple
Yeah, I
episodes.
had a whole thing with Paget.
Yeah, remember that?
She's talented. I'd acted with her before. She was on a series.
She's so talented.
She's great.
She's really good.
I said if we were together, it'd be Paget Saget. But
and that didn't just get her
no,
to.
it was as quiet a response always.
I don't know anyone that likes to spar comedically the way that you do. Like,
Oh, that's not true.
I feel like I think.
I don't look at it as sparring. I look
No,
at
I
it
think
as
it is-
9-year-old riffing. You know.
But it seems as though there's a part of you that that has to do it. Is that true?
When I'm this in performance mode, I mean the other way to do what we're doing right now is boring,
Right.
which is I'm really sad about that. And
Right.
the secret to comedy, once you analyze comedy, you've just killed anything funny for an hour.
But I've seen
But for the opening of this whole podcast was fairly serious.
But I think it's so interesting.
If you think so,
We've just
but
started
if you
it
trim
now,
off,
actually.
I'd be thrilled.
Yeah, we've
if
just started
you
now.
circumcise the front of this podcast, I'd be take out anything where I mention anything sad or death.
But isn't that fucking interesting? I mean, I've seen.
Yeah.
Like, we know Bob is funny. We know who you are.
Well, we don't know that. Some people don't know that. There are people still that will go, I didn't know you were funny because you did that video show and you did that. And that was a comedy show. But you can't make a clip show funny.
Right.
You cannot go, here's, weddings are interesting. Here you go.
But you created the genre, and then
I was the first person that did it.
and now
it had
Tosh
not existed.
and Ridiculousness. I mean, these are all versions of
Course,
America's
of course.
Funniest
And they
Home
do
Video.
a lovely job of it. And everybody, I mean, YouTube, there was no YouTube for God's sakes.
Right.
So, I always say if you wanted to, because that's all I say all day long. I always say if you wanted to see people get hit in the nut video, you had to go through me. I was the gatekeeper.
The gatekeeper
of the nut hit.
Of the nut hit.
Yep. And it made people laugh at 7:00 at night. I remember I had been doing the warm-up for Bosom Buddies, so I was friends with Tom Hanks. So the show comes on, and it was the premiere, and it was the one at 7:00 at night that beat a rerun of 60 Minutes. And that's when ABC said, let's buy 12 more of these. So we automatically had 13 on the air. And at that time, they weren't buying a lot of 13s. It wasn't that kind of thing. They would they would buy a whole 22. I don't know what was going on, but we were in some weird new air. So the show comes on, and I go, hi, everybody. Welcome. You sent in your videos, and we're going to run them.
Right.
And the whole thing was I was on Full House one year, and they sent me a tape of 20 minutes of videos of people falling down and animals doing stuff and little kids doing stuff. And the reason they got those videos was they took ads out in People magazine and they said, send us your VHS tapes.
Right.
And the public did. And it was the best paid ad for a television series. It can't exist anymore because there are no tapes, and you could just simply put online, send it. You don't.
Right.
People magazine. We needed a magazine. They
Right.
had to take an ad out in a magazine in order to get this show started. And so I remember the show comes on. It's on for 5 minutes, and to name drop an old friend, Tom Hanks calls up and says, "What is this? What is this? Are you kidding me? This is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. What is this?"
Tom Hanks, big fan.
Well, we were, we buddies,
Oh, got another ad for the show because we're successful. Did you know that every single episode of Curious is now on Spotify? Yeah, the same app that has millions of songs now also has thousands of podcasts. On Spotify, you can listen to all your favorite shows. We all know which is number one. And discover new ones, just not too many because we get jealous. To subscribe to my show, search for Curious, tap follow, and get every new episode delivered to you. Podcasts on Spotify, they're streaming right now, and now, and now. Back to the show. Now, you have some famous friends. When I think of you, I think famous friends.
Well, I'm just a name dropper.
You like famous people. Are they more fun?
No. I'm a talent whore. I'm a whore for talent.
You're attracted
I like
to
people,
talented people.
I
What are you doing on
wanna
this
be
podcast?
around people that are creative, that we can talk about stuff.
Talk shop.
Well, or no, do what everybody does. Everybody loves to talk about show business. Everybody.
Right.
Everybody. Your bus driver, your teacher. I mean, everybody. People that work with clean coal, they want to talk about show business. I
Do
saw
they?
that movie. Do you see that show last night? That was a piece of crap. I don't know. That show sucks. Oh, do you see that movie? I like that movie. That's a good movie. Who's starring that? De Niro. It's always De
I
Niro.
don't know if that's right anymore.
I think people talk. Well, now people are talking about. You see that on the news,
Well-
and then they start arguing about the president, and then they start arguing about the cabinet, and then they start arguing about life, and it's all. But I do think coffee cooler? No, water cooler talk. Coffee cooler talk.
Coffee, tell me
Yeah,
more.
lava flow displays.
Sounds
Where
great.
people gather around during their office day.
Sort of slowly put
They
their
talk
mug.
about what was on TV the night before. So someone will say, "Did you see Stranger Things last night?" Someone will
Sure.
say that. Someone will say, "Did you see Dateline last night?" And then you start a whole ruckus. Someone will say, "Did you see Vice?" And someone will say, "You watch Vice, man? That's for liberals." Do you see Bill Maher? I guess for liberals. Or,
Dirty libs.
did you see Fox News last
Did you
night?
see
and
Laura
then you got
Ingraham?
9 people. Right.
Right. Don't
Oh
you
my
love
God.
that? Fuck
Now
that.
to see James Ingram. That's a singer.
He sounds
I
good.
think he sang "On the Wings of Love." I might be wrong.
Sounds like a
I'm not
banger.
looking it up, but
But I mean, for me, I love this, and I love that the opportunity to get you one-on-one and really talk. And imagine if I had an hour with you and could never talk to you again. This is what I'd want it to be. And
so you want me to die right after this is over?
we all make decisions, and if you want to
If I
cap
wanted
this
to
off,
off myself, you've got this podcast.
if you really want to help this episode really,
oh, this would blow through the roof.
blow up.
If it was the last thing I ever did.
could you imagine?
Yeah, I'd love it.
Can you do that for me?
No, I need to live to 150.
You've
by
had
the
an
way.
incredible career. Why don't you share the
No,
wealth a little
I'm
bit?
just getting married this year, and I got 3 daughters. I got to live to 190.
So what do you think about the institution of marriage? Because now you're doing it again.
It's bad that they call it an institution because you
Really?
can't get out of them normally. There's guards, there's
Straight
nurses, they
jackets,
drug you.
Soft walls.
That is how I stay in this house.
Right.
Is she drugs me and keeps me chained to the wall.
You too?
Yep.
Uh-huh.
That's how you stay in one.
I'm
You've
recently
been married how long?
9 months.
And she's incredible.
Yeah, she's a beauty.
Yeah.
I
So
don't know
you
how I
would
got
not
so
cheat
lucky.
on her, for example. If a woman
It's
came
not
up
part
to
of
you
my ethos. It's not who I am.
because you were heavy.
Well, I feel
A lot of people that were
I feel
heavy-
very grateful. I still can't believe that she's with me. But more so, look, anyone that does any self-realization work or any amount of work on themselves realizes that
There is no better.
well, it's not that there's no better,
Oh,
but
there is if the person's terrible.
there's no punishing God. We all immediately pay for our bad behavior from ourselves because we have to walk with it and carry
But
that
people
secret.
do believe in a punishing God. The guilty Catholics, the guilty Jewish people, the guilty
Right.
anybody that is extremely orthodox believes you get punished for your actions.
But despite,
I think
that
we
I would
punish ourselves for our actions.
right. And despite that, I'd never, ever want to do that to my wife. Even more importantly, because of how self-obsessed I am, is that I don't want to do that to myself.
Well, let's do this
I
because
don't
your
wanna
wife's
carry
probably
that.
going to listen to this.
She's allowed.
What actress are you most attracted to that you can say in front of your wife when you're watching a movie and you go, oh my God, that's Scarlett Johansson, or who would it be?
Well, first of all, and I'm interested to hear your thought, because I do, and my wife and I kind of have this respect for each other, which is, I just think this underlying thing. I have married friends that'll be like, oh, that, whoever, that Megan Fox, like, oh, what a babe, that would be my hall pass in front of their wives. And I'm like, you're kind of a douche. And like, I don't
Yeah, to do that.
like, I could say
and
like,
that's
oh,
like the wife going, well, Jamie Fox. And then
right. And then
you've
you
got-
go, that's a great Fox family.
yeah,
Are they
that's
related?
a double whammy.
Right. And so I don't, so my wife and I don't really do that. She knows like I have a thing, like I have this, I love French actresses, like
Who
like
doesn't?
Marion Cotillard or like these kind of like,
You just like saying the name?
I don't know. Yeah, there's something about it.
Well,
So-
when I saw, what's her name? Amelie,
oh yeah.
what's her name? Benachet?
Juliette Binoche.
Binoche, thank
Yeah.
you. That's how I say everything. I don't know anything.
You're allowed.
Brioche?
Brioche. Juliette Brioche.
I love a soft-breaded actress.
Yeah, well, she created the bun.
I love yeast infections, but
Join the club.
oh my God, that's all I care about. When I say that to my fiance, she's not jealous at all.
Right. I like that.
Except unless I would, we learn from life that the other grass is not greener, and you think by someone being incredibly attractive that person will be considerate and you will be able to connect with them and you will love each other. That's based on, oh my God, did you see that movie and how hot she is in that movie? You didn't see the stuff in between the trailer when she was in the trailer trying to get the stink out of her armpits because she's been in a plastic suit all day and then go home and be too tired and exhausted. But that doesn't have anything to do with anything. That
But
has to do with falling in love with the image of someone or a model or an actress,
but is
which,
it
and
that?
I've been through a lot of those experiences and had a good time for a while, but ultimately disappointed.
But it's you know what it is? It's the buffalo wings after the stand-up club. It's
Well, that's the best, by the way. If you get
That's better
a
than
model,
sex.
no. I'm saying you get a model. This is going to be a
Give me
place
the
we haven't.
play-by-play.
This
Break
is
it
a
down.
place I'm going to break it down. You're eating buffalo wings,
Sure.
and somehow you've covered her body with blue cheese dressing.
Right. Or
So
ranch. Well,
I
not here to judge.
blue cheese, blue cheese.
Same here.
Well, blue cheese blue can be spelled a couple different ways. So
Mm.
I'm going for, I blue cheese all over her is kind of what I'm inferring.
Okay.
Well, you could edit, but I say why? Why?
I see no reason.
So the idea is you eat a buffalo wing, you dip it on her, and then that you can't even do that in today's society because but you can only do that if it's something she wants. It's not consenting. She's begging for it.
Right. Thanks a lot, Harvey Weinstein.
Oh my
You
God.
fucked up our ride.
Yeah, we can't talk about stuff like this in a joking way because it comes off evil and objectifying
Well-
and chauvinistic. But I'm not that way. I am the reason that people go, oh, he's dirty. He talks about like this and that and dehumanizes. I am the least. I have 3 daughters that I look up to that say, Dad, you really shouldn't be saying that. Or, Dad, can you not mention me in that way? I was on the Fallon show recently, and I was talking about my 3 daughters who are amazing and brilliant and artists, and they're not kids. They're 31, 28, 25.
Right.
And my middle daughter said, I'm working in a new medium. I said, what is it? She says, I blow glass. And I said, and the punchline, which was a conversation, was, well, I'm a comedian, so you have to change vocations. You can't say you blow glass.
Right.
And-
Right. I can't wait to meet Glass.
Right. I can't wait to mold glass.
I
No,
can't wait to meet Mr. Glass.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right.
No, I wouldn't even go there. I just
Right.
said you can't say, blow glass can't be
Yeah, you can't.
said. So she said, you can say it. I said, what if I apologize to you? She said, she did not give me permission the night before because they live in New York, my 2 older daughters.
Right.
She said, don't say that. Please don't say that. I said, what if I look into camera and apologize to you? And that was our arrangement. And that's what I did. I looked right into camera.
How'd it go?
It went really well.
Yeah.
As long as you own your crap and you know that you're doing a 9-year-old, pardon the expression, Peck's Bad Boy.
Hey.
Because Peck's Bad Boy was an expression from the 40s. It would be, you know what Peck's Bad Boy was?
No.
Peck's Bad Boy, you should look it up because it's your name,
That's true. Although I'm
Peck's Bad.
formerly I was Peckerman.
Oh.
They DJ'd
That's
my name.
rough.
No shit.
Well, I was Saget, and that didn't change. But Peckerman is not
Saget's
easy.
not easy either.
But a Peckerman is a man that is
Tell me more.
interested in the pecker.
Sure. I'm
Right.
a Pecker man.
And the pecker is, but that's a song by Pearl Jam.
Is it?
Yeah,
Eddie Vedder?
she says she belongs with him. Can't find a pecker man.
It does sound like grunge rock.
Yeah, it's they're not even grunge. I don't know what they are.
I'm
Eddie
in-
Vedder is kind of a anyway.
Grungy. I'm interested though, and tell me this, because I was recently with my friend who has 2 kids, and he said, now that you're married and you're gonna have kids eventually, your life will change
Do
dramatically.
you want
and
kids?
I do. I really want kids.
Do you both want kids?
Yeah, and I want kids because I can't wait to see my wife be a mom because I think she'll be so good. Which was
You look at her and you picture her and you go, God, you'd be such a beautiful mom.
yeah, and her mom is so beautiful and wonderful. And I
Wait a
can't wait.
second, let's back this up.
Tell me more.
So you like her mom?
Yes, I'm a big fan. Big fan of the whole family. I like her dad. How do you like that? I'll say that honestly.
By the way, my fiance, I like her mom and I like her dad.
Good sign.
We were FaceTiming with them last night.
Really?
What are the odds of that in my life?
I've done that with my in-laws.
If I did that with my 22-year-ago ex-in-laws, they would just push the stop button.
Really?
They would hang up
Well, they'd
on
be
me.
like, "What is this future device? It's allowing me to see
Well, they
Bob's
told
face
me.
25 years ago
Yeah, I
while
know,
we're
right?
talking."
That wouldn't have existed. They wouldn't have wanted to be on camera. But her father, my ex-wife's father, told me I never. What do you want to do with your life? I want to be a comedian and a writer and a director. He said, "You're never going to do that. You should
Ay.
just quit."
Yeah, that's not the great base to
He
build a
talked to my
relationship
manager,
on.
Brad, and said when I was opening for Jose Feliciano in Atlantic City in 1980, tried to convince Brad that I should quit show business and go into the tire business because
Right.
I had no talent. And that's the problem for people that are listening. If you want to be in the arts, it is, you watch the Oscars, you watch an award show, and people go, "This is to the little girl out there that doesn't think she can make it." You go, girl, you make it. You go all the way. And then that girl goes by that belief of what some movie star told her that just won the Academy Award, and she turns out to be the worst actress in the world.
Yeah. Way to go.
It's like maybe
Thanks
she
a lot,
wasn't
Emma
serviced.
Stone.
But sometimes I used to sit at home watching. I remember I was living in Washington. I wasn't living in Washington. I was visiting a cousin in Washington, D.C., and I spent New Year's at 9 years old watching Johnny Carson bring in the New Year's. And at that time, Johnny Carson show was 90 minutes long. So it was on from 11:30 until, do the math, till 1
1
a.m.
a.m. Uh-huh.
And it didn't start at 11:35. It was on time.
Right. He wasn't
And
cheating.
Right? And so I went on the Tonight Show, first time with Garry Shandling, second time with Johnny Carson. And I told him a story that I was on the air, that I was watching him when I was 9 years old. And I lit a sparkler while I was watching his show. And he goes, "Oh, that's very nice." And then I told him a story where I had a real dream where Johnny Carson was the driver of a limo, and in the back seat were people from show business that your millennials and Gen X might not know, but Buddy Hackett, Buddy Rich, and Buddy Ebsen were in the back seat, and they were famous people.
Right.
Buddy
This
Hackett was
episode, people are going to have to look up some names.
it's a Google episode.
It's
But
a
it's
Google.
okay. I mean, Buddy Ebsen was in the Beverly Hillbillies.
Wait, but
He was Jed Clampett.
I want to know
Change the subject
because
fast.
we got
Change it. Go and move.
not that Buddy Hackett's not enthralling, but I want to know about
Buddy Rich was a great drummer.
how do you feel? I've heard Howard Stern talk about he has 3 daughters as well.
Yes,
And
I've talked with Howard about it.
And there's something to the effect of, and I subscribe to this, where he sort of said, he loves his daughters and they've given him everything in his life and everything that they say about parenthood and fatherhood and what have you. But that radio was the great love of his life. And had he not succeeded in becoming what he did, that
And
perhaps
he did a lot of stuff on there that he wouldn't want his kids to hear, even now.
Yeah, and perhaps he would have been unfulfilled. And I kind of, and I don't know if I'm projecting, but I see that in you a little bit. And I know it to be true for me that I can't wait to have kids, and I'm speaking out of turn because I don't have them, but that there will always be this gnawing part of me that if I didn't realize my goals and dreams in entertainment, that perhaps I don't know if I
You'd
would
be
feel,
unhappy.
yeah.
You'd be unrequited.
Is that,
And I'm
do
the
you
same
feel
way.
that?
Well, yes. I mean, I got married at 26. I got divorced at 40. We were married 14 years. I can't do the math. So 40, I
forgive
was, the secret of life is 42. I was single and lonely and sad.
Right.
And then started dating people younger than me because everyone seemed to be younger than me. And I did not set out when I went to film school at Temple University to have a wife and kids. That wasn't my dream. I was a kid.
Right.
I was like, I want to make movies. And then I started doing stand-up and I started doing improv. So from the time I was 18 to 22, I did all these things that I ended up incorporating all of them as I moved out to LA. Then I went to film school for 3 days and quit. Then I worked at the Comedy Store for 10 years hosting and trying to get a job. And then I got in a Richard Pryor movie, and then I got a TV show on CBS, and then I got fired. And the career was always incredibly important to me, of the arts, of doing everything, of doing acting, writing, directing, stand-up. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be a stand-up. It
Right.
was, I'm going to do all this stuff. Stand-up, wow, that seems to be coming easily. I think I'll do that. I enjoy doing that. Wow, they're paying me for doing that, But if I did not set out to, wow, all I want is to get married, have the white picket fence, and have the dream of a lifetime. When you get married and you love a person, like I'm about to do again for the second time in my life, soonish, which is within the year, as soon as all the forms are filled out, tax forms.
Sure, prenup.
And then I didn't say that.
Can I bring my mic to the wedding? I'm assuming I'm invited, which I imagine
absolutely.
I'm not. But
No, you are. You
Okay,
are.
okay.
Well, there's a closeness here.
Well, I
But,
feel that. I'm
what
of a level of celebrity that I can
No,
make
it's
the
not
list.
celebrity. This is not famous people.
There's going to be a shitload of famous
No,
people
there
at your
aren't.
wedding,
It's
Bob.
It's her family's coming out
Really?
from Chicago. Yeah,
That's beautiful.
It's going to be beautiful. It's probably going to be
Nice.
2/3 my people, but
Right,
they're not going
well.
to be famous. It's going to be my nephew's the event planner. So,
That's cute.
although Questlove did volunteer to be the DJ. So,
Well, I mean,
but
how are you
then I
going to turn him
realized,
down?
Well, I don't
That'd
know.
be bad form.
How's he going to do it? I mean, he's got to do the show.
But you
He
got to
can't-
fly him out.
Yeah, I got to do all this stuff. I can't. I'm not doing a private jet for a wedding.
Does he want a private jet?
I don't think so. I think he's the nicest man in the world. He's so talented.
He'll do JetBlue Mint to your wedding.
You would go Mint?
No, he'll do JetBlue Mint to your wedding.
Oh, that's what you said?
Yeah, JetBlue first class.
I don't know. I think it's got to be a better quality.
Really?
Yeah, it's gotta
JetBlue
be.
Mint's nice.
It is. But
This
it doesn't have-
episode's brought
it
to you
doesn't
by
have the-
JetBlue Mint.
Oh, is that true?
No,
Who brings you this episode?
me.
So this will be you. This will be iTunes.
No, I'm working with a company, but your first couple
What
out.
company is it?
Cadence 13.
Oh, they're out of jail.
I think they are.
That's so great. The charges were dropped.
I'm happy about it.
And now, does this go iTunes?
It'll go iTunes everywhere where podcasts are available.
Got it. Which is everywhere now,
Yeah, sure.
except iHeartRadio, which is a different company.
No, they're more traditional radio.
Right. So you have to cut that out.
Ah, fuck 'em.
That's the only thing you need to cut out.
I'll go to traditional radio. I'll pretty much go wherever they're offering me a job.
Right.
I might go.
This is your 6th episode.
It's going great.
I'm feeling good about it.
I feel really
I
good
would
about
trim
it.
the first quarter off, but
You
you're
think
going to
so?
leave it because it draws people in.
I mean, I'll trim some things. What would be
I
the
don't
dream?
know what you would trim. I don't know. I don't care if you leave it. I mean, I like live stuff. I like stuff that feels like you're talking with people and people are listening to it and they feel like they're part of this conversation.
I think that's great. And
That's what it's meant to be.
Well,
That's how Howard did it. There would be no podcast if Howard had not done radio the way he did it. He really
So
did
true.
change it. No matter what people's opinion of him is, and his fans are, bloodthirsty, love him, worship him.
I'm
fans.
one of 'em.
Right. And there are other people that go, that's not my kind of thing, which is the same thing that people do about my comedy sometimes.
and do you find it's mostly a snap judgment that they heard one thing
No,
once?
I think it's you go back in time and maybe you watch something I did years ago that was in poor taste, or you watch something he did when he was on the E Channel and when his show was at its peak, and he would have porn people in. It's that
Right.
kind of thing.
Porn people are people too,
They're in politics now.
apparently.
Yeah, I mean,
Miss
the first
Daniels.
lady could be. You never know.
Right.
That'd be a stormy White House. She's fantastic.
Did you watch the 60 Minutes thing?
I did.
I didn't.
Well, it is. We are where we're at. This isn't Happy Birthday, Mr. President. But there's a lot of stuff there. What I can't stand is all the CNN things that I think are going to tell me about the Kennedys. They're going to tell me about all these
A
different.
big secret's coming.
But I just don't like reenactments. As soon as
it
you
never
take an
comes.
actor and pretend that's John Kennedy sitting at a desk, I flip the channel. I don't want to see an out-of-work actor being off camera as a stand-in playing JFK. It's just dumb.
Right.
So don't give me reenactments on a news station. News should be news. Don't act it. If you want to make hard copy, then go make that on another network and sell it somewhere. I'm desperate for just real news.
But do you think of the Stormy thing? Like, I just felt like the biggest winner in all of that was 60 Minutes because of the killer ratings. Because inevitably,
And Anderson, because it shows that he can hop from network to network and be one of our broadcasters of our time at the moment.
He's
Whether you
great.
like, yeah.
I love him. But like the
I'm
whole,
not saying, I do think he's great, but I mean,
but what's new? Did we learn anything new? No, because we sort of always
well, everything that's
assumed.
unfolded afterward has kind of unraveled unraveled some of it
But we
because she
know-
was sitting higher when she did that than she is at the moment.
They know the guy that they voted for. I don't think this is any new information.
No, it doesn't hurt him.
So then what are we wasting our time for?
Well, it's why was
To keep the circus
to
going?
go really sad and negative. Why was Casey Anthony on television and on CNN, and why are people watching it 24/7? I couldn't watch it. I would come into a room.
People
and,
were
and they were obsessed with it. Why? It's the worst thing on the earth.
Right.
It's the unconscionable. Why would people be obsessed with that? Why are people obsessed with all these death shows of let's investigate the murder of? I can't watch Dateline. I don't want to see how some innocent person was murdered.
Right.
But when something terrible happens, like it did in Florida, like it did in Charlotte, when these things happen, when horrible things happen on the earth, I do need to know about it because as a human being, I want to put my energy out in the world that counteracts it in some way and makes me more conscious and more sensitive to it.
Right.
Because you don't realize when you're going to say something, especially if you're a performer and especially if you're a comedic performer and you get on stage, and if you don't know what happened, you're a fool. You have to know what's going on so you don't accidentally do something that hurts someone, because so many people have been, I mean, people are dying. I mean, and it's getting to a point where it's hard to find relief in humor. So if you can do that, then you're really giving people a gift. There's something very medicinal in getting people out of their homes, not being afraid to be out of their homes, getting them in a collective group and entertaining them. I mean, I look at that as something really special. I'm real proud of myself that I get to go out there and they laugh and they have fun and they go home and then they pass out on each other and throw up, because that's normally what's happened.
That's it. That was Bob. That was me. That was us. That was we. Thank you for listening to the Curious Podcast. I hope you have an incredible week with ups and downs and in-betweens. Mostly the in-betweens, right? Because we're just, the ups, the downs, they're all the same. They're fleeting. You know what I mean? I'm shooting for the middle. Yeah. How enlightened am I? I'll answer that very. Oh, man. Anyway, guys, have a great week. Thank you for listening. Bye.